Hey folks, I'm back up in the treehouse. Kind of like a treehouse series, right? If you remember, I built this treehouse with my grandson, but he doesn't play up here as much as I thought he would. Man, when I was a kid, I loved building tree houses and playing in them with my brothers, and so that was fun when I was a kid. There wasn't a lot of good things, when I was a kid, but that was one of them. Some of my friends have posted, "Oh, I wish I could go back in time to when, things were simpler, blah, blah, blah." And I'm just like, okay, you must have had a great childhood. Some of us didn't. And I maybe because of that, I'm more cognizant of some of the things going on today, and it makes me a little nervous as I get older, not for myself per se, but really for, for my kids and my grandchildren and stuff like that. It makes me worried at times. Oh, the sun's peeking through. Awesome. Haven't seen the sun in a while. It's been raining. Probably since the last video that you saw, when the weather was just beautiful, but it's been like a week and a half of not being beautiful. Anyway, thinking about those things made me think of my favorite author, George Orwell, and some of the things that he wrote, I think, are so important, especially nowadays when things get a little wrapped up, a little weird. And well, one of the things, there's been a lot of talk about military service and the things that, that have to be done in order to protect what we've created. And I'm always amazed at those people who fail to see the logic in protecting what we have. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm an anarchist. I want to burn it all down. Start from scratch, man." I'm like, you're a moron. And I just want to take those folks and plop them down in some of the countries that I've had the opportunity to visit, and others that I think about, and let them stew over there for like a year. I guarantee when they came back, they'd have a far different perspective. Anyway, one of the things that Orwell had said was, "People sleep peaceably in their beds at night only because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf." And followed by, "Those who hate violence can only protest it because others commit violence for them." So the first one is really, I think, more focused like on the military stuff like that. Maybe policing, where, you can normally sleep in your bed peaceably, as Orwell was talking about, because, there's other people out there in the middle of the night facing the kinds of things that most people don't want to face. So there's that. And then you see some of these protesters, like Antifa and stuff like that, who are out there doing crap, and and they're allowed to get away with it because they're inside of societies who have said that it's important for people to have the freedom to make their voices heard. And I think about what would happen to those kinds of people if they were in, Cuba or Iran or, one of these countries that utilizes severe violence to control their population. We see it in Venezuela right now, where they just had an election and the opposition clearly won the majority of the vote, but the Maduro government will not relinquish control. And so there's a lot of violence going on there. Anyway. The next thing that I thought about as I was thinking about this is freedom is the right to tell people what they don't want to hear. And I run into that a lot in my own life, where, I think about things maybe a little differently than others do. And because of that, I say things that make other people upset. And I feel sorry that they do, but in my opinion, these are things that need to be said, that need to be discussed. And so, what do you do? And the reason for all of this, of course, is the last quote that I'm going to talk about from Orwell. I think most people are not really aware of the directions that things can take to the negative. And so I try to help bring that into a point where it's clearer for people to recognize. And because without without being able to say what you think, and without violence, without committing violence, preferably. Orwell said, if you want a vision of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. And I think that's such a perfect point, And the reason that we need these rough men out there protecting us is because there are those who want to be that boot, who want to control that boot, who want to utilize that boot in order to be in power. I can't remember who said this quote, but there's a quote out there. God, how does it go? There are people who would burn down society in order to rule over the ashes. Yeah. And you got to be able to recognize those people. There's those people out there that are seeking power, that are asking you, you know, to support them. And they would absolutely utilize that power to become that boot. Some of them are called Republicans, some of them are called Democrats, some of them go by other names, whatever. Be aware of people, not just from a government standpoint, but also in your own lives, of where people would be happy to stamp on the face of humanity, or just you individually, forever. And it's one of the reasons why I'm living up here in the woods in Alaska, because man, you can see it. I'm really hoping that you know, that because this is so far away and the population is so small, and that, I mean, there's no real value here in being a boot yet. I'm hoping and praying that it doesn't happen. Anyway, that's it for this video. I'll keep it short. Think about these things and be cognizant of those things happening around you, because it's going to take all of us to stop those people who want to be the boot and control the boot from ever getting in any long-term power. Anyway, I hope that's not too depressing. But I'll chat with you all later. Bye. So these moose showed up in the backyard, a mama and her two babies, and they let me take pictures of them for quite some time. So I got a bunch of pictures. But you know, when you talk about living in Alaska, this is the kind of thing that you know, that really kind of draws you to stay in here, even though you got to put up with the winters. So I was never what you would call a rough man when I was in the military. I was first a weather observer and then a weather forecaster. So my life was all about meteorology. And then, of course, that was my first bachelor's degree, and followed by a couple more because I never really knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. But I did this for a little over 15 years, and this is me in Korea. I was pretty young at the time. I was probably, oh my goodness, maybe 21 here in this picture. Anyway, kind of fun.